Hey guys, it's Roger from Tree Life Tree Service and Roger's Reviews, and I just had my new proposals written up. And I know a lot of you guys are probably going digital. I am too, but it's always nice to have a hard copy, paper copy of your proposal. And if you're a small company and you don't want to carry a digital notebook around with you and you want to stay old school, there's nothing wrong with carrying some of these around. And another thing you can do too, if you don't want to switch, you can just what I do is once I make the proposal up, I take a picture on my phone, and that way you can email them or you can send the customer a digital copy. And also too, if you lose it or you misplace your proposal, you can always look back on your phone and scroll through and you can find those. And also too, you'll have a digital memory of those proposals. And I've had many renovations. I've had probably 50 different variations of this, and over the years you just add and take away stuff. And then also too, everybody has their personal preferences. I've had salesmen before that changed it to their likings, and then I changed it back after I started doing the estimates. So, but I'm just going to briefly run through kind of like mine, and maybe you can get some ideas. Maybe take a screenshot of this. So basically, it's Tree Life 1, residential, commercial. We started charging fees for estimates up to $20 plus a $10 fuel charge. Some people charge for estimates, some don't. After you've been in business a while, you find out that there's a lot of people that are tire kickers, and they'll get 10 or 15 estimates and a lot of times never do the work. So if you want to eliminate some of the tire kickers or you don't want to drive 20 or 30 miles to do an estimate, you can just say, well, you're out of our service area, but we can still do an estimate for $20. A lot of times you'll eliminate those tire kickers and basically eliminate you driving 20 to 40 miles and just wasting your time. So that's the first thing. And then we also put a scan bar there. So now instead of having something on your phone, if you don't have anything with you, you're in the job and you're having them sign the final sheet, if they're happy with the job and you want them to leave a review, you can just say, do you mind scanning this and giving us a review while I'm here? Because a lot of people won't do it unless you ask them to, unless they're just over the top with your service. You say, because usually after every job, I'll ask them for a customer testimonial. And that's a perfect time to have them scan this with their phone, and that way they can leave you a review. And usually it's going to be a better review if directly after the sale. Over here, I have the estimated time of the job. So like if I think it's only going to take like half a day or a full day, I kind of jot it down there. And then how many crew members, like if I think we're going to need just 2 guys as a small job, I'll put like 2 here, 2 to 3. And then if I have a loader truck with a helper coming, I'll put 2 to 4. And then difficulty level, you always want to put this too, because you want to know what you're getting involved with. And usually when you're on the job and you're doing the estimate, you can get I do like a 1 through 10. So usually our jobs, I try to get between, probably 1 and 7. And then the 8 through 10, those are the jobs that you either avoid or you get paid well for, or you sub out. So that's what I use that line for, difficulty level. And then of course the reference, that is basically how they heard about you. And then instead of writing it out, the most common ones are our referral system, yard signs, trucks, drive-by, Chamber of Commerce, return customers, and Google. So instead of having to write all that down, basically I had it printed out and I just circle which one it was. And of course the date and the time, and then every year I have new ones print out in different colors, so that way we can basically, when we pull them, we know exactly what year they're from. So then of course you can cross that out, but we have most of the year still left. We'll go through our 250 estimates pretty quickly, and then you can change the color on the next one. That way you know how old the estimate is just by looking at it. And then since I'm the only one doing sales now, I just went ahead and printed my name and number there. And then the equipment needed for job, I'm gonna actually have this raised up. I didn't do all my changes, but I did 90% of them. Instead of writing out all your equipment, what I did was the stuff that I normally use. It's not an exact order, but we use the bucket truck or the or F-250 every day. So it's either one of those two trucks. So I just wrote them in, and then now I'm just going to circle them. Also, too, a lot of people can't read your handwriting. So the more stuff you have printed out, legible and circled, it's easier for your associates or people you're working with, because I don't have the best handwriting. And sometimes if I'm in a hurry, I can't even read it. So it's best to print everything out that you can. So bucket truck, F-250, trailer, long pole saw, short pole saw, cage, loader truck, big stump grinder, small stump grinder, top handle saw, hedge trimmers, and ditch witch. And you put the ones on the bottom or over here, which you don't use as much. Like hedge trimmers is way at the bottom. We hardly ever use hedge trimmers. It's like maybe twice a year. So those are at the bottom. The big saw and big stump grinder should be down here, because we refer out our stumps like maybe 3 or 4 times a year. So basically all your stuff that you don't use, I try to put towards the bottom. Top handle we use almost every day. Climbing gear, we always have it with us. Of course, the customer's name, address, and phone number. And then right here is a map of the job. So you can briefly sketch out like the house, the trees, and then I label them A, B, C, and D. And then over here, A, B, C, and D, you can write out a description of each number or letter. And then up here, this is another quick reference, because normally it's trimming, removal, grinding, and then pressure washing and bush hogging is at the end, because we don't really bush hog that much. We don't do as much pressure washing. So mainly we're either trimming or removing or grinding. And so sometimes it's just trimming and grinding. Sometimes it's just removal and grinding. Sometimes it's all three. So just by a quick circle of each one of these, you'll get a basic idea of what you need. Just, if you know that you're trimming and you're not grinding, of course you don't need a stump grinder. If you're just doing removals, then you know you need a big saw. So just if I just know this brief description of these 3 things, I pretty much know what I need on the truck. So you just make it as simple as you can. Down here, there's a 3% service charge for credit card payments. So if the customer is adamant about credit cards and they don't worry about the extra fees, sometimes they'll either split them with you, or you can say, hey, if you don't mind, we're going to add on a 3% tip or a 5% tip just to cover extra expenses for fuel and credit card fees. And usually, if they're just wanting points, they don't care. But sometimes you can negotiate from there. But at least it brings it to mind, and that way it gives you a negotiation point. And then, of course, make your checks payable to Tree Life LLC. You want something on here. You want a clear address and a clear place to put the checks, because I don't know if you're not on the job site and they send you a check in the mail, if you don't have the right address or you don't have somewhere to make the checks out, it's possible you don't know what you're going to get. So always make it legible and clear, right by what they owe. Make checks payable to, and then highlight that area so they know exactly who to pay, how to fill it out, where to fill it out, and how much they owe you. And then down here, let's see, I put cash, check, or charge, so I already know if I need my credit card machine when I go into the job. Of course, they spell out, if making payments, we want at least 50% down at time of service, and then we only finance the rest of the 50%. Has to be paid within the time. If not, there's basically a fee if they don't pay on time, if it's more than a few months. And then also too, if they make any changes, it has to be within 24 hours of cancellation, or there's a fee. And then also too, which is very important, when you go to basically do the estimate, this is a little clause here: acceptance of proposal. The above prices specific and conditions are satisfactory and hereby accepted. You are authorizing to do tree work as specific payments will be made as outlined above. Tree Life 1 is not responsible for any damage caused by sewer, power, water lines, etc. while job is being completed. Tree Life 1 is not to be held responsible for any cracks in concrete driveway. All land surveying must be done by customer before job is started. This also releases us to use any photos or videos for advertising or social media uses. So you just want to get your bases covered, and you want to make sure you go over that with a customer. We very, 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 very rarely ever break anything. And it's usually if a crane comes on site, and usually if you're bringing a third party and they cover their own insurance, the third party is responsible for that. But if you have this clause here, that basically eliminates you from some other person breaking it, or also too stuff that's broken before you got there. So a lot of times I pulled up on jobs and there's stuff broken, or there's holes in the roof, there's patches, there's other tree people have been there and they've caused issues, and a homeowner doesn't own it realize it until you get there. And then when you find those and you relay those to the customers, sometimes they might think you've done it. So if that happens, this is basically a way to, if you have to go to court, or if something happens, at least you have a leg to stand on. And then also too, if the customer doesn't get a survey, I've had customers insist that I grind deeper, or grind here, grind there when I didn't want to, and then you end up hitting a sprinkler line or water main, and then they expect you to fix it, even though you told them, listen, I'm not responsible. I didn't want to grind there, and I told you if I did grind there, if I hit something, I'm not responsible. So customers will sometimes flip on you. You do exactly what they want, and usually it's when you go over and above and you try to go out of your way to help somebody, and then they'll turn around and try to make you fix it even though it was their idea. So you just have to have something in writing that they sign before you even get on the property. Make sure they sign this and date it. And then of course afterwards, after you do the work, you walk the property and you make sure they sign this. Job was completed to your satisfaction, yes. Would you use this again? Yes. Any comments? Sign and date. Please let us know if you'd like your comments added to our customer satisfaction section of our website. So again, we ask them, that way, you're covered. So I think that's it. If you guys have any questions or comments, there's also a property location drawing here, which I showed you, and then there's a 0 to 10. Nobody really writes that down, but to me, this is like a 1 through 10, how basically how enjoyable this job's going to be. So 10 being the best and 1 being the worst. So if it's like the worst possible job you can imagine, with vines and hard to get to and a lot of climbing and just it's going to be aggravating all day, that would be like a 1. And then if it's like a front tree, you drop it in the road and a loader truck picks it up and it takes you 10 minutes to clean up, that would be a 10. So I just like to get as many indications of the job as possible. And then of course up here is pending and sold. So when you do the estimate, they don't make the decision right away. There's a pending, and then I have a stack of these at the office. And that way, if the customer calls me back in a couple days, or say I don't have any work, I'll call these back and I'll go through all the pendings and see if I can transfer them into a sold. And then you just cross out the pending circle, and then you put a sold, and then you put it on the job board. Anyway, this is over 10 to 20 years of changing and moderating and making better. There's always room for improvement. So every time I print these out, every 6 months, I try to make changes, and I try to basically every time I fill these out, I try to make it to where it would be better. And then I just added this feature here, thank you letter sent. We do thank you letters. That's very important when you guys are in business, especially if you're trying to build your customer base. Always send thank you letters and have some way of knowing if you sent them or not. Emails, so on these, we just check thank you and then the date we sent them. So that way we know, and then that way You know, we used to write it up here somewhere or down here, you know, and then you're looking, there was enough room. This way there's a specific area where you check it off. So that way when you're pulling back, you're like, oh, we did send them a thank you, and we did send it this time. And that way we know if they got them or not, if they were sent in the mail or what have you. So anyway, it's a little bit run on, but make your proposals as good and as professional and as simple as you can, because the easier it is to read, the easier it is your, and then also too, I always make duplicate copies. So there's a yellow copy, I give this to the customer, and then I give the white, we keep the white copy, and then this right here, the proposal turns into an invoice. Once they sign the acceptance of the proposal, turns into an invoice. So that way you don't have a bunch of different paperwork. We used to have a 3 copy and it was just a waste. So the 2 copies for us seem to be legit, especially now that we're taking digital pictures. And then later on, of course, we're turning this into all digital. So I can basically fill this out on an iPad, and then we won't have any paperwork at all. This will be basically our backup. But I'll always have these in each truck just in case, say, the laptop's there, or we don't have the iPad there, because a lot of times we're doing work and I don't have anything with me. It's always nice to fold a couple of these up, put them in the glove box, put them behind the seat. That way, no matter what, you have a way to basically write out a proposal. I also keep temporaries, like you can go to Office Max and just get generic proposals in a book, and you can write them out, and then when you get back to the office, you can transfer them to an actual legit proposal. And then also too, you can go back to the customer and send them a digital copy, email or text, and then you can have them sign it when you get to the job site before you perform the work. All right, that's all I got. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Hope it helps you. Bless.